Good evening, everyone. This is your evening news recap. I hope all of you guys had a wonderful day. My day was all right. Today is May 12th. It is Monday, and this is episode 49 of the evening news recap. Tomorrow will be episode 50, big number, halfway to 100 right there. Hope all you guys are enjoying these episodes, and hope all of you guys are enjoying the recaps. We're getting there day by day, trying to miss as many days as not possible, or trying to not miss as many days as possible. But we're getting there. We've missed a few along the way, but for the most part, we've made every day so far. So thank you, everyone who's watched every single one. It truly means the world to me, and we're gonna keep trucking on, and we're gonna hopefully get to 500 subscribers. That's the goal right now. But, with that being said, we've got a lot of news to cover today. Only two topics for the Trump administration, surprisingly enough. But, there's a lot of news going on, so I probably didn't get everything. It happens. But we do have a lot of news in the other news segment. We have around 4 topics there and 2 topics on the Trump administration. That being said, let's open up with the Trump administration. For the Trump administration today, we have 2 topics. Repeating myself. Those topics are China and the U.S. have agreed to slash tariffs for 90 days, and Pam Bondi is under scrutiny for Qatar lobbying. China and the U.S. have agreed to slash U.S. tariffs for 90 days. The U.S. and China have agreed to temporarily suspend the tariff on goods. The trade agreement means that reciprocal tariffs between both countries will be cut from 125% to 10%. The U.S. 20% on Chinese imports related to fentanyl will remain in place, thus meaning China will have a 30% tariff total. Both the U.S. and China held trade talks in Switzerland, but hadn't made a full deal yesterday, but now one has been made. The pause will go into effect on Wednesday. Both China and the U.S. said they will continue the discussion on economic trade policy. My take on this is kind of a hot take, I guess, but a lot of people disagreed with me, but here's my backing, I guess. I think this is good news because, of course, we all know a trade war helps nobody on any side, and hopefully we can get a permanent deal done that is lower. But, it's probably not going to happen in the Trump administration. But 30% is a lot better than 125%, that's for sure. And, I mean, the 20% on fentanyl-related tariffs, although a majority of it is shipped to other countries and brought over our border, there is still a fair amount that comes from China. And I mean, if it pushes China to check their ships more for fentanyl related things, I mean, it's not the worst thing. I have a ranging opinion, not great ones. I'll preface it by saying that, but I have a ranging opinions on how I believe fentanyl is distributed through the United States, and I'm sure not all of it is just through street dealers from buying it from the cartel. But there is history to back up that the U.S. government have been involved in, spreading around some epidemics like that. But of course, some of it does still come from other countries and is still imported from other countries. So, in my opinion, at least, having the fentanyl related tariff, if it pushes China to check their ships more often, isn't the worst thing. And if I'm wrong by that, feel free to argue with me. And I'm open-minded, so I'm willing to, change my opinions. That's for sure. Moving on, Pam Bondi is under scrutiny for Qatar lobbying. After the news about Trump's jet from the royal family of Qatar, Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, came under scrutiny as working as a foreign lobbyist for Qatar. Bondi earned $115 a month in a role which she held from 2020 and in the run up to the World Cup in 2022. In the role, she lobbied to Congress on behalf of Qatari interests, and she also worked in separate lobbying positions for Ballard Partners, a Washington, D.C. firm, where she lobbied on behalf of Qatari interests, including several conglomerates, including Amazon and Amazon. The Department of Justice has declined to make any comments on the situation at this time. Excuse me. Corporations and countries should be banned from lobbying in American politics. It has been clear for a very long time that is a big problem, especially with the big one being Israel. The government should be focused on the American people's interests, and anyone who isn't shouldn't be able to serve in American politics because it is your job to support and work for the American people. They literally pay you. Um, Going back to that, I mean, yeah, Israel buys out so many politicians, it is bad. And I know a lot of it is like PACs too, and PACs are a whole different problem in themselves. But like the amount of control Israel has on our government is horrible and needs to be prevented and ended. That is for sure. That is nothing against Jewish people. Jewish people are cool. Believe whatever you want to believe. Got nothing against you. But I'm not a supporter of Israel. And I know many Jewish people agree with me on that, but just always got to make it clear. Moving on to our other news segment, we have four topics today. As the Pope has made it very clear that the world must protect free speech and press. The Episcopal Church ends its partnership with the U.S. government. Florida calls ICE raids the new normal. And House Republicans have introduced a budget with Medicaid cuts. The Pope has made it clear that the world must protect free speech and press. Pope Leo XIV has denounced the jailing of journalists and the use of media to pit people against each other in one of his first public remarks as Pope. The Pope didn't drop names, but his remarks offer a clear rebuke of partisan, dehumanizing, and manipulative tendencies used to characterize the MAGA movement. In his statements to journalists on Monday, he said, "Let us disarm the community of all prejudice and resentment, fanaticism, and hatred. Let it be free from aggression." He also said that the church views journalists as witnesses, saying, "I am thinking of those who report on the war, even at the cost of their lives, the courage of those who will defend dignity, justice, and the right of people to be informed, because only informed individuals can make free choices. The suffering of those imprisoned journalists challenges the consequence of nations and international community, calling on all of us to safeguard the precious gift of free speech and of the free press." I may not be religious, but I am really starting to like this Pope quite a bit, as I thought from the start he had a good head on his shoulders and would probably, live up to Pope Francis, especially if he saw him as as the heir. But he is most definitely a smart man, and I'm excited to see more of his work and success over the next few years. I have a feeling he will probably play an important role in not only the next few years on the world stage, but really as a whole, because we're going into an important shift into global politics, and during those times, religion either tends to rise for better or for worse. Moving on, the Episcopal Church, if I'm pronouncing that wrong, my apologies, by the way, ends its partnership with the U.S. The Episcopal Church has halted a refugee resettlement program with the federal government over the prioritization of white South Africans, while other populations see their immigration protections removed. President Bishop Sean W. Rouse said in a letter, "Just over 2 weeks ago, the federal government informed Episcopal Migration Ministries that under the terms of our federal grant, we are expected to resettle white Afrikaners from South Africa who the U.S. government have classified as refugees. In light of our church's steadfast commitment to racial justice and reconciliation, our historic ties with the Anglican Church of Southern Africa, we are not able to take this step. Accordingly, we have determined that by the end of the federal fiscal year, we will conclude our refugee resettlement grants and agreements with the U.S. federal government." According to the State Department, the first group arrived today in the U.S. The department spokesperson Tammy Bruce asserted that the group was at risk of racial discrimination, but the church will not continue as it goes against their beliefs and mission. This is honestly a fair decision. Even if these Afrikaners do experience discrimination, there are other places in Africa that we could be bringing people from that very much do need it more. There are people starving and dying in not really camps, but they're like settlements, and they're uh, fenced in. I don't know what they're called, but if you haven't watched any documentaries on the African migrations, especially from Sudan. There's a good one by Dang someone. He's one of the boys, and it's a story about him and his brothers, and it's a great one. I wish I could remember the stuff off the top of my head. I'm terrible with names, and unfortunately, it just kind of happens. But great stories. Um, there are people starving and dying. These are just farmers, which is also a very loose term. Farmer could mean a lot of things, and there are a lot of successful farmers, not even just in the United States, but around the world. Yes, white people have been prosecuted and attacked in history, one of those groups being the Irish, many of who were my ancestors. Irish ancestors did, in fact, come over in the Irish slave trade, but the Trump administration is blatantly racist. So I highly doubt they're bringing anyone who truly needs refuge, and they're probably just bringing people who agree with Elon Musk, if you will. But maybe I'm wrong. You never really know. That's kind of just, in my opinion, how these things tend to go with the Trump administration, though. Moving on, Florida has called ice raids the new normal. Florida officials called Operation Tidal Wave, where 1,000 migrants were detained in 5 days, the new normal for the entire country. Within 60 days, the federal government will attempt to put into practice mass deportation plans similar to Tidal Wave, according to Larry Kefe, the executive director of the State Board of Immigration Enforcement. He said the techniques, the methods will be standard for our brothers and sister states apply in the effort. I just blinked. I don't know why. Keefe showed off a document called the Florida Blueprint to Mass Deportation and said it would be the prototype. This should not be the new normal. It shouldn't even be happening at all. I can't wait to see the day that ICE is ended as a program. We have immigration issues, yet the right-wing way of going about it simply doesn't work. We need to rebuild our education or our immigration system and make it easier for people to come into the United States seeking opportunity. We should not be taking people away from their families and sending them to foreign camps. Not only does that create more problems, but it creates enemies. Mark my words, at least one of these kids who has had their lives entirely destroyed by the Trump administration will try to get revenge in the United States because of it. It's kind of just how that plays out. I mean, children are easily conditioned to hate. They are very easily moldable. And if you get a child that hates something enough, boy, let me tell you, it does not end well. I mean, truly, like, there is going to be, if you are deporting millions of people, there is going to be at least one who is going to be very, very anti-United States and is probably going to attempt to do some not great things to the United States, whether they succeed or not. That's kind of how these things kind of play out in the long run, Actions have consequences. Moving on, House Republicans have introduced a budget with Medicaid cuts. House Republicans have unveiled the cost-saving bill from the Trump administration, and it included at least $880 billion in cuts to Medicaid to help cover $4.5 trillion in tax breaks, not billion. The bill was released late Sunday night and touches on the biggest fight over health care since Republicans failed to replace the Affordable Care Act. Republicans insist that they are rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse to generate savings, but Democrats warn that millions of Americans will lose coverage, as is the Congressional Budget Office, as it says the proposal would reduce the number of people with health care to reduce the number of people. I worded this terribly. It's supposed to reduce the number of healthcare by 8.6 million over the decade. That's my bad. I got Grammarly on my computer, and it don't even do anything. Like, I have it installed as the add-on so it can, like, spell check my stuff, and then I go through and read everything as I publish it, or, like, when I'm, doing this, and I notice the spelling mistakes, and then Grammarly just doesn't pick up on them at all, and I don't understand why. Anyways, I'm assuming these tax breaks are for the rich because the Trump administration's tax plans doesn't help the lower or middle class at all. Healthcare should be free. Other countries with free healthcare are not struggling with this issue as much as we are. Not to mention, they basically have the same wait times at this point. It's just a scam that you were required to pay for unless you want to go broke after an accident, which is nothing anybody wants. With that being said, thank you everyone so much for watching this video. If you're on YouTube, hope you all enjoyed. Drop a subscribe, drop a like, drop a comment down below. Appreciate all the support on all of my content. You guys mean the world to me. Wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for you. Please check out my Blue Sky. It's in the link in the bio of both my Substack and my YouTube. That's where I get these, notifications sent out. And, I also put a few more personal stuff. If there's like a day I missed with the news recap, I let you guys know on there. And, all the other things. If you're on Substack, please consider pledging your support. All funds go to me. They help me pay for the things that I need to pay for while I'm in college, like food, water. You don't need to pay for water, but all those kinds of things. But yeah, with that being said, thank you everyone for watching. I will see you all in tomorrow's episode 50. Later.